What do I have to do to solve it? I'm looking for kind of a specific word. We'll see if anybody gets it. The specific word starts with an I. That's the word I'm looking for. So what do I have to do? It's not inverse. Oh, Mariana, good job. You got it. I think that requires a celebration. Doesn't everybody else? That was a good one. Okay. So I wasn't sure anybody would get it. All right, we're going to celebrate. You ready? This is for Mariana. Woohoo! Okay. All right, when we go back in person, we'll have to get out the confetti, right? I'm not going to do it in real though, because I'm not making a mess in my classroom. It's already messy enough. You guys don't even know. This is like the neatest thing. I love the fact that all you can see is here. Because if you looked at my desk, you would know we can't see the top of it. So it's just the way I am. I'm sorry. Okay, you shouldn't see the laundry piles in my bedroom either. That's terrible. Okay, let's do this. I at least get it clean. We'll put it that way. All right, I have to add the 3 to both sides, right? So we've got 4, absolute value of x plus 5 equals 4. Now I'm going to divide by 4. So that the absolute value of x plus 5 equals 1. Okay. Now I need to split it, and this is where you need to turn on that Ballard soundtrack in your head when you are doing the quiz. Okay. I have to split it into a positive expression and a negative expression. Okay. And I want it on the expression because of the inequalities, right? We've seen that. So I am going to subtract the 5. So x equals -4. And then I'm going to distribute the negative because I know that's our habit. We see that those parentheses, we want to distribute. And then I'm going to add the 5. So you get -x equals 6. I'm going to divide by -1. And I showed a lot of my steps, didn't I? So I get -6. All right, so -4 and -6 would be my answer. When you type your answer in, just as a tip and Otis, just put a comma in between it. It doesn't matter the order, it will take it both ways. Okay? Hopefully not so bad. I even made it nice where hopefully there's no fractions. I'm hoping. Hopefully my arithmetic was right, so hopefully no fractions. Okay? All right. We're going to solve and graph, and I'm going to do 2 solving and graphing, so I'll give you a minute to write it down. I guess in my classroom, instead of throwing confetti, we could just throw all the papers that are on my table. Even though I don't collect paper, it still seems to get covered somehow. It'd be a bit easier to pick up. All right, so I want to know, let's see if you've been paying attention and doing your homework. Is this an and or an or? Tell me in the chat. Very, very nice. Good job. I am looking forward to grading these quizzes if you guys have that down. Okay. We have to be a little bit careful in identifying it there. Sometimes we really shouldn't identify it really until I get the absolute value isolated, because sometimes the sign will flip on us. Okay, if I have anything that's in front of here. So I really should have waited 1 line to ask the question. You're correct, but I should have waited 1 line to ask the question. So x minus 2, I'm going to subtract that 1, so greater than 2. And it is definitely an or. It does not hurt to write that little word down on your paper. Remember, I see your paper, you see your paper. That's it, okay? So write it down, and that's a good indicator. So that way at the end of the problem, you know, hey, I know things about ors. I know my graphs have to point away from each other, okay, unless it's one of the weird special cases. And I know that I have to put the word or in between the inequalities. So if I at least write that down, hey, I've got that. So I'm going to split it into a positive expression and a negative expression. All right, I'm going to add the 2. So we get x greater than 4. I'm going to distribute the negative, so negative x plus 2 greater than 2. Negative x, I'm adding the, or sorry, subtracting the 2, so I would get x greater than 0. I divide by a negative. What happens when I divide by a negative? Tell me in the chat. Quick. What happens when I divide by a negative? We're going to flip and make sure we're understanding that we flip the inequality sign, but it, and then 0. Oh, there we go. Coral, thank you for the detail. 0 divided by -1 is 0. Okay. I know you have seen this because guess what? My daughter's 7th grade homework was on that this last week and a half. So I know you've seen it because you wouldn't have made it there to this class if you hadn't. Okay. So we are going to slap the word or in between there, right? I don't think it's, I don't know. I haven't put that question into the test yet. I'm hoping it doesn't matter the order. If not, I will grade it by hand. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to graph it. So it's going to give you the number line. The review, if you haven't done the review yet, helps you practice this a little bit so you can mess with the graph. It's a really good idea to go make sure you study the review assignment so you get used to touching all the tools. There's also a little thing in there. I don't know if you've noticed it, but like, you know how it gives you the grid underneath the problem? I try to make sure, and there's a little tiny thing up here where there's an arrow down. I'm talking about like where it has the numbers in it, and like sometimes it has inequality symbols and stuff. But there's a little arrow in it that will let you toggle between the different menus. Okay, because I might give you more than one menu because some of them have inequalities and then maybe you need fractions or something goofy. You can just type it in. You can just type it in less than equal to, and it will automatically do this. Okay, but if you prefer the menu thing, it's on that little toggle down sometimes if you can't see it. Okay. And fractions, you can literally type in, you know, your number and hit the slashy key and it will turn it into a fraction. I think that's easier than using the menu symbols. If you will need an exponent, hit the shift key. I think it's shift. Oh, shift and the caret above the 6. And then that will get you the exponent. Okay. All right. Enough on the typing it into Otis. So what I would probably do is I would label these things on there. So I've got 0, I've got 4. So over the top of those, should I have an open circle or a closed circle on this one? Tell me in the chat. Good job. We're going to have an open circle. So I'm going to put an open circle over both. Okay. And then I'm going to use the Mrs. Ballard shortcut. Okay. I taught this to the 7th grader. All right. Because she needed the shortcut. As long as X is on the left. So X has to be on left, which it should come out that way, the way we're doing it. This makes an arrowhead pointing the correct direction. So the 4 should be pointing to the right and the 0 should be pointing to the left. Technically, I should really label that with an X on it. We want to label the graph appropriately. So that's what it should look like. And on the quiz, you will either write, this, oh, that's not what I wanted either. You will either write this answer or the graph, not both on the same problem. So one problem I'm going to grade, do you understand this? And one problem I'm going to grade, do you understand that? Okay, but you're not going to know if it's the and or the or problem ahead of time. So we're going to do both things for both. All right, any questions on the inequality or the absolute value inequality at this point? I'm going to do one more and then we'll get out Kahoot. It's been a while since we've done something exciting and fun, right? Although I think math is exciting and fun every day. Sometimes it helps us to play a game. All right, there's the next one. Write it down. This is the last one we're going to do together. All right, I'm going to do one line and then I'm going to ask my question about which type it is. Okay, so don't put it in the chat yet. All right, you're ready. Be ready for it. So I'm going to add 6 first. So we've got the absolute value of x plus 1 less than or equal to, I'm seeing 4. Now that I have the absolute value isolated, that's where I asked myself, do I have an and or do I have an or? Tell me in the chat right now, what do I have? We were all ready for it that time. Very nice job. It is, in fact, an and. And again, it's helpful to just write that word. That's always been, for the last 20 years, my note to myself, I have an and. Okay, I know that this is an and. And so I know when I have an and, I know that my arrows are pointing towards each other. It kind of looks like dumbbells when I graph it. I know that information. I know that when I do the answer, it typically looks like this. The auto grade on the quiz will probably auto grade that, okay? I will go in and hand grade if you write the word and in there. It's not wrong, but this is what it should be, and we should be good at inequality notation considering we did it in the last unit, okay? All right, we're going to split it into a positive expression and a negative expression, okay? All right, we're going to subtract 1, so we get x less than or equal to 3. I'm going to distribute the 1, so negative x minus 1 less than or equal to 4. I'm going to add 1, so negative x less than or equal to 5. And you guys have already told me once, when I divide by a negative, I have to flip that inequality sign. I am going to use the fancy notation. So I'm going to use the sandwich notation, right? That's what I call it because it looks like we're putting x in the middle of the sandwich, right? X is the peanut butter and jelly. All right. Which number am I going to put first? Tell me in the chat. So what's going to go on the left side of x? What do you think? Good job, those of you that have put it in. I know some of you are still coming. Okay. All right, so we're going to put in negative 5. For sure, it's always the smaller one goes first. Okay. And typically when I put answers in, even if it was the or answer or the comma answer, I usually do put the smaller number first. Okay, you just have it. That's typically the way math goes. We always put the smaller one first. It's the counting, right? All right, and then my bigger one second. So that's our fancy way of saying and. Okay. All right, let's graph it. So I know I'm going to put a negative 5 on the graph. I'm going to put a 3 on the graph. I'm going to put an X on there because I'm going to properly label it. Tell me in the chat this time, should our circles be open or closed? It looks like those of us that have been keeping up with the lessons are going to do really, really great on the quiz on Friday. I am super excited for you all. Okay, closed, closed. Okay. Now, this is where I would probably go back to how we have it written here to draw my arrows, okay, because X is on the left. So I'm going to look at, I could do rainbows right now. My 3 is going to point towards the left. So I just kind of do a little one till I'm sure that they're actually going to cross. Negative 5 is for sure going to count towards the right. Okay, so it looks like a set of dumbbells. The reason I wait to draw the whole thing, and I don't just assume they're going to connect, is sometimes in an and situation, we end up with it maybe going the wrong direction, or maybe it looks just like that, okay? So I don't know exactly where it's going to until I actually get to the end. Sometimes they'll point opposite directions, and then you have a no solution. I'm not going to do any of that craziness on the quiz. Quiz is basic, okay? Do you understand when is it an and when is it an or? Yes, crazy situations sometimes come up, but I'm not going to test that this time if that's all right with you. Okay, I don't want to test the crazy. I just want to understand, do you understand what we did? Okay? All right, are there any questions on inequalities? Or absolute values, or graphing them? That was it. That's all we've done, really, right? And that was the whole unit. Wasn't that nice? It was nice and short. Okay, the next unit is not as short. The next one is kind of our big kahuna of Algebra 2 trig, at least for the Algebra 2 part. Okay, so let's do some Kahoot. So there's a couple of ways you can do this. You are welcome to get it on your phone, okay? You are welcome to split your screen with a Duelist app, because you're gonna have to see my screen and your screen to be able to, and the screen to be able to click the Kahoot, okay? I borrowed this Kahoot. I found one that was somewhat decent. So if there's a wrong answer in there, I apologize. It wasn't my fault this time though. Okay, normally it's my fault, but I didn't have it in me to write anymore, and I found one that was pretty good, so I figured we'd go with it, okay? All right.